Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Jaya Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Shuranandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So welcome again, everybody, to the Sunday Love Feast, started by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada, many, many years ago, in 1968, 67. And up till this very day, all around the world now, people celebrate the Sunday feast program because they get to celebrate and understand more about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. Om Anjana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksyodamilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Drati Swaparantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvaihutam Parigyanasam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Karana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavanishwari Vrishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we will be starting from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Most of you, many of you should be familiar with Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's 18 volumes that Srila Prabhupada insisted that devotees publish in practically a 3-month time period, which at the time they said impossible. And Srila Prabhupada made the famous statement, devotees repeat always, that is, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. So for Krishna, nothing is impossible. And we can just imagine back in the late 60s, early 70s when this was happening, we did not have all the amenities we have nowadays. Especially in the area of electronic devices, cell phones. Printing was even much different in those days, but now we have a different opportunity. Nevertheless, the devotees under Srila Prabhupada's instruction were able to complete these 18 volumes. They're super important. I can't emphasize how important. Just believe that they're very, very important. This Chaitanya Charitamrita, the nectar of the living force and immortality. That's the translation. So we will start with text 1. We're going to read a few verses from this chapter. It's entitled The Process of Devotional Service. I don't want this in the way. This is the Madhya Lila, chapter 22. So we start with text 1. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Text number 1. Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Tam Karunarnavam Kalavapi Ati Godeyam Bhaktiryena Prakashita Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Tam Karunarnavam Kalavapi Ati Godeyam Bhaktiryena Prakashita Vande Sri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Tam Karunarnavam Kalavapi Ati Godeyam Bhaktiryena Prakashita. Someone like to chant that sloka? Don't be shy. Don't be bashful. Anyone else? So, we'll read the translation by Srila Prabhupada. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He is an ocean of transcendental mercy. And although the subject matter of Bhakti Yoga is very confidential, he has nonetheless manifested it so nicely, even in this age of Kali, the age of quarrel. So this is a very special subject matter. Actually, very few people are privileged to it. Not out of arrogance, not because they're locked out, simply because they don't want it. That's the bottom line. Very few people are interested in finding what is the absolute truth. Very few people. Ask your friends and neighbors. Do you want to know what is the absolute truth? Do you know why you should pursue the absolute truth? Very few people in this age of Kali. But Lord Chaitanya made it possible for anyone to gain this knowledge. Text 2. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Nityananda Prabhu, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ita kahilun sambandha tatvera vichara Veda Shastre Upadeshe Krishna Ekashara. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I have described one's relationship with Krishna in various ways. This is the subject matter of all the Vedas. Krishna is the center of all activities. So in a very short, unique way, he's explaining to us what is that essence. and that is our relationship with Krishna. Who is Krishna? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we all have a unique relationship with Krishna, and that is what we have to awaken. That is what we have to focus on. It's actually what we have to do. He says it's the subject matter of all the Vedas. So Srila Prabhupada very kindly has given us the essence of all the Vedas, especially for this Kali Yuga. If you study and if you make comparative analysis, one will arrive at the conclusion that this volume here, these 12 cantos, are the essence of all knowledge. Not because I'm saying so, because anyone can profess anything, but it has to be backed up. In this particular case, we're fortunate to hear from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He's telling us the subject matter of all the Vedas. In this day and age, we don't have time to study all the Vedas. We actually don't even have access to a lot of them. So it would be very difficult. But if we did have that amount of time, we'd still arrive at this conclusion that Krishna is the center and that we have to serve him. Ebe kahi shuna abedaya lakshan yaha haite pai Krishna Krishna premadan. Now I shall speak about the characteristics of devotional service by which one can attain the shelter of Krishna and his loving transcendental service. So he's going to categorically explain what we need to do, what's important for us to do to actually perform devotional service. Krishna Bhakti Abhideya Sarva Shastrikaya Ataiva Muni Gana Kariyache Nishchaya. A human being's activities should be centered only on devotional service to Lord Krishna. That is the verdict of all Vedic literatures, and all saintly people have firmly concluded this. So again, this is a snapshot, but it's very clear what he's talking about. A human being's activities should be centered only on devotional service to Lord Krishna. So we can reflect on our daily activities, and we can see it's a yardstick to measure how much we're doing for Krishna. If I would measure my own, I doubt if you could even read the measurement, because the mind and activities are always diverted to something else. But it should be centered on service to Krishna. Shrutir mata prishta dashiti bhavad aradhana vidim yatha matur vani smritir apitata bhakti bhagini puranadya yeva sahanja nivahastetad anuga ata satyam yatam murahara bhavam eva sharanam. Translation. When the mother Vedas, the Shrutis, is questioned as to whom to worship, she says that you are the only Lord and worshipable object. Similarly, the corollaries of the Shruti Shastra, the Smriti Shastra, give the same instruction, just like sisters. The Puranas, which are like brothers, follow in the footsteps of their mother. O enemy of the demon Mura, the conclusion is that you are the only shelter. Now I have understood this truth. So one of the unique things about studying the Vedas, it's a very balanced understanding as what is the absolute truth. No other scripture, to my knowledge, can verify itself based on another scripture. The Vedas are the only scriptures that have different corollaries and histories to back up what they're saying. And these corollaries and histories actually also come from Krishna himself. So that is the singular difference between other approaches and what is this most authoritative approach. In this little purport, Srila Prabhupada just says, this quotation is from the Vedic literature that was spoken to the Lord by great sages. I'll read one more text here, and we're going to skip. Advaya Jnana Tattva Krishna Swayam Bhagavan Swarupa Shakti Rupe Tanra Haya Ashvatana. Krishna is the non-dual absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. Although he is one, he maintains different personal expansions and energies for his pastimes. Again, Krishna is the non-dual absolute truth, the supreme personality of Godhead. Although he is one, he maintains different personal expansions and energies for his pastimes. Such a wonderful definition of who is God. We can say, yes, I know God. God is great. And that becomes the limit of our expression. But how is God great? Who is God? That's what we want to get to the heart of. So here, this statement is very emphatic. Krishna is the non-dual absolute truth. So Srila Prabhupada has said in other places, the absolute truth is a person, personality, the supreme personality. Just like we're actually all persons. We all have personalities. We all have things that we like, things that we don't like, activities that we do, activities that we have no interest in. So God, what is he? Just sitting somewhere lofty up in the heavens, waiting for us to pray to him, give me this, give me that? No. That's not God's main interest. Even though he oversees all of those activities, if you make a prayer, ultimately it's aimed at God. But he has his servants and energies to take care of such trivial things. So this non-dual, what does non-dual mean? I mean, it's you can't split it. Krishna is the non-dual absolute truth. There's no one else beside him. He is supreme. If you say, what about so-and-so? Who would like to give me a so-and-so, an example? Well, there aren't any really, because if you compare Krishna to anyone else, it's a fallacy. It's not true. Krishna is the non-dual, absolute, supreme personality of Godhead. This is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam. What is Srimad Bhagavatam? Srila Prabhupada worked so diligently on translating that. But the very title of the book gives us a clue. What is the Srimad Bhagavatam in English is like the beautiful science of the absolute truth. Srimad, the beautiful science of the absolute truth. And who is that absolute truth? Again, Krishna. And who is Krishna? For those that don't know, he's standing on our very far right altar with his divine consort, Srimati Radharani. And of course, in the West, there would be an objection raised. You mean you worship idols, right? Who would agree that this is an idol? Is this an idol? Who can give me the definition of an idol? What is an idol? Come on, people. Work with me here. something that... Correct. That's it. It's not complicated. If you make something, some little object, and put it on a shelf and decide you're going to worship, that's idol worship. If you go even to a collective building and they have put on an altar, a shelf or something they have contrived, that is an idol. So the very next question, I hear it bubbling in your minds. Well, that's what you just did. You have some form here and put it on the altar. No, that's not what happened. There's a authorized transcendental description of the supreme truth. That description is standing before us playing his flute. That is the non-dual Krishna. If one thinks, and one can think that this is something made out of marble or carved out of brass, initially those elements come from this particular planet. But who manifests the planets? How did a planet get here? Oh, it just happened. There was a big bang, right? First there was nothing, and then there was a big bang. How many accept that theory? I don't see too many hands. Because to have such a singularity does not offer any explanation. That there was nothing, and all of a sudden there was an explosion, and everything spread out, and slowly from somewhere, we can't explain where, but organisms got together and started to form singular cells. And these singular cells eventually, as Mr. Darwin would have us believe, they decided to migrate to different places and develop different things. Anyone in kindergarten, anyone in nursery school should question that because it's so infantile. It's a puerile explanation. Unfortunately, that modern science is spinning on that as we speak. They accept it. Great scientists accept such things. Why? Srila Prabhupada would often say it's because they have a poor fund of knowledge. And that's the truth. They have a poor fund of knowledge. They're thinking by this empiric method, the empiric method of exploring things from the bottom, hopefully to get to the top. They're going to find out what's in space, what's here, what's there, what's in the body, everything through empirical examination. We're going to get there. We don't have the answer today, but hold on, stay with us. We're going to get the answer. Srila Prabhupada dismissed this type of research because it will never get to the absolute truth. The absolute truth, how can we get to the absolute truth? Can we get there by our own endeavor? Can one actually just start today and say, I'm going to find God. I'm going to find God, who he is, who she is, it is, by my own endeavor. I'm going to circle the planet. If necessary, I'll go to other planets. Well, unfortunately, we've been doing this birth after birth. We've all been doing it to some degree. But we've been doing it backwards, upside down, because we're thinking by satisfying our own senses, our own desires, even if that desire is to find God, to meet God, if there's such a being, I can do it. Well, we're proof that no, it doesn't happen that way. To reach that non-dual absolute truth has to come from the source himself. That is the only way it can be reached. if he sees us plundering through this immense darkness, these wormholes of the material world searching, he might send someone our way to give us a glimmer of what that absolute truth is. In this little purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the Lord has many potencies, and he is non-different from all potencies, because the potencies and the potent cannot be separated. They are identical. Krishna is described as the source of all potencies, and he is also identified with the external potency. That's the material energy. Krishna also has internal potencies, or spiritual potencies, which are always engaged in his personal service. His internal potency is different from his external potency. Krishna's internal potency and Krishna himself, who is the potent, are always identical. So if we try to dive into this, the meaning of this little purport, we can understand that God has many energies, actually unlimited. He's not limited like we are. Our energies are always limited. We use our energies through the five senses we have been given: sight, hearing, taste, touch, and mind. So we're always looking for something, always want to hear something nice and sweet, always want to taste some nice food stuff, and the tactile senses, touching, always want to engage them. And with those very same senses, we're thinking we can explore the entire universe. But we have to keep in mind each one of those senses are very limited. So the idea that you can make a perfect telescope that can see in outer space is actually not correct. Why? Because you yourself can't see properly. I can. I have to wear these glasses. Be lost without them. But we're so a scientist, getting to the point, a scientist or a group of scientists think we can build something with enough magnification that we can send it out on a spaceship and it can send back information to us, when the very apparatus itself is limited, is subject to breakdown and give inaccurate information. Just like our very eyes can give inaccurate information. Srila Prabhupada used the example of a rope laying in the corner, and it's a snake. We go to fetch the rope, and we pick up a cobra. Bad business. You're in bad trouble right there. You don't want to pick up a cobra. But because we have faulty sight, it could happen. But we rely on this, and we're thinking, show me God. I don't believe in God. Show me God. So again, through arrogance, the very eyes, coupled with the mentality, thinks that they can see God. Show me God. Who are you to see God? What's your qualification? You have no qualification to see God. What have you been doing all your life? So you're thinking, well, now show me God. I don't believe. It's nonsense. Show me God. First of all, what's your qualification to see God? And you'll see everyone hesitate, looking in their pockets, trying to find something. It must be on my iPhone somewhere here. I'm qualified to do this and do that. No. You have no qualification to do it. Another little example, maybe you'll get the point more. Like right now, if you wanted to go see President Biden, or if you wanted to go visit Prince Charles, what's your qualification? Are they going to let you in the facility? I want to speak with Mr. Biden. I got something to talk to the prince about. What's your qualification? The prince is there, Biden is there, personalities is there, but you can't access them. What to speak, you're going to be so challenging, so arrogant. Show me God. I don't believe there's God. In a nutshell, what's a belief? Srila Prabhupada said, a belief is something that can be changed. You can believe in Catholicism today. You're Catholic. And next week you decide you want to be Buddhist. Sounds better. Better activities. So you can believe so many things, but belief is not the criteria. Jivera Swarupa Hoy Krishnera Nityadas, Krishnera Tatasta Shakti Beda Beda Prakash. Our constitutional position is to serve Krishna. So we're going to skip a little bit here, and we're going on to text number 17. Before I move on, just right now, does anyone have a question so far about what I'm trying to say? Any question about something or something not clear? Yes, Prabhu.
Diving further to Prabhupada's analogy that, you can't see God because just like you can't see the president, the way you're able to see, like, feel the influence that the president is there is through all of the actions and systems that are set up. You see the police, you know what the laws are. So if you break the laws, the police will come in. Similarly, if you put your hand on a fire, you can see that you get burnt, right? And so from that, following that analogy, is it possible to deduce the laws that Krishna has created simply through the laws of this material world?
You might get an inkling of it. You might get some clue about it, but still you won't get to the absolute using that method. That methodology is a good example because we can see that there are very rigid laws in the universe, as even in a state. In the universe, we see that people can't fly. You can't defy gravity. Yet, you can get on a plane and fly that way, but it's limited. So these laws are in place throughout the universe. And so the implication, again, is that there's a lawmaker. You can't just say that there's the law of gravity. Law implies a lawmaker. You can't separate the two. To just have a law out there for whom? For what? For why? No, we just have laws. They always relate. I guess a point mentioned in Bhagavad Gita very nicely. Understanding the knower, the process of knowing, and then the object of knowledge. The knower, knowing, and knowledge. All three of those. When you separate them out and try to approach independently, it won't work. It's limited. You can get so far, but it's limited. The observer, observing something, and the object of your observation. Very important cohesion there. If you try to separate it out and say, well, I want to eliminate the observer, myself, there's no distance between me and the candle. I'm just going to stare at the candle and reflect on this in a deep yoga trance. It can't be done. Because there's still the observer, there's still the process of observation, and there's still the object. So it cannot be done. So looking at these laws and a person through analogy, thinking that they can arrive at the absolute without the aid of the absolute, approaching someone who's connected with the absolute is not possible.
That's what the yogis tried to do. In previous yugas, they meditated for tens of thousands of years until Krishna eventually stepped in and helped them, right?
Till Krishna.
So Krishna eventually stepped in and helped them.
All right, we're gonna. Was there another question?
I agree.
You agree with what he said? And
Like he said, the yogis, they, like he was saying, the yogis discipline themselves to the point where transcendental knowledge came into them, and they were able to do what you just said, the impossible. So I agree with you.
you agree that you can discipline yourself to the point where you get transcendental knowledge. Yes, we have to be disciplined because you have to follow the rules and regulations. One has to follow the rules and regulations. But one has to also inquire, what is the source? Where did it all come from? And who is that source? So if your goal is this discipline and regulation and different activities, what is that actual goal that you're trying to reach? The activity themselves, to be able to sit perhaps in a lotus position for 2 or 3 days, control the prana or the breathing through the body, and is that the goal? In other words, is it the goal just to be able to do that? Like some yogis, even in this very day, they might pierce a knife right through their arm and be able to control the blood flow and their breathing. But what's the goal? That's your goal in life, to be able to put a knife through your arm? Does that please Krishna, that you're so disciplined that you can actually control the blood flow? What's the goal? What's the point? To impress maybe some other living entities, but there's no ultimate value. Because even though that ability to do that comes from Krishna, he himself is not pleased with that activity. He himself is performing unlimitedly wonderful activities every second of the so-called day. That's what we want to find out about and try to enter into that type of activity. Whereas opposed to here on our planetary system, it's I, me, and mine. We want to get away from that approach. So going on with this understanding, what is the process? Text number 17. Krishna Bhakti Haya Abhideya Pradhana Bhakti Mukta Nirikshaka Karma Yoga Jnana. Devotional service to Krishna is the chief function of the living entity. There are different methods for the liberation of the conditioned soul: karma, jnana, yoga, and bhakti. But all the others are dependent on bhakti. Bhakti means actually devotion. So you can perform karmic activities in the correct way: karma, akarma, vikarma. You can search through jnana, thinking you can expand your mind so much. And again, as we were just talking, through yoga, through actually controlling the physical self, and then that internal process, the breathing, to such a degree. But they all depend on bhakti. Bhakti is the leader. Moving to text 18. E saba sadanera ati tucha bala Krishna bhakti vinataha dite narapala. Without devotional service, all other methods for spiritual self-realization are weak and insignificant. Unless one comes to the devotional service of Lord Krishna, jnana and yoga cannot give the desired results. Purport. In the Vedic scriptures, stress is sometimes given to fruitive activity, speculative knowledge, and mystic yoga system. Although people are inclined to practice these processes, they cannot attain the desired result without being touched by Krishna Bhakti, devotional service. In other words, the real desired result is to invoke dormant love for Krishna. In the Srimad Bhagavatam 126, Savai Pum Shambharo Dharmo Yato Bhakti Radhoksaje Arhaitukya Pratihata Yadatma Supratidati. Quote, the supreme occupational dharma for all humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. A mega verse, excuse my colloquialism, but it's a mega verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, super importance. The supreme occupation. We have so many occupations, so many professions, but what is the supreme occupation, dharma, for all of humanity? Well, it's that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. Who is not looking for satisfaction? Who does not want to be satisfied? We try so many things to be satisfied, but it never seems to work out to the state that we want it. Srila Prabhupada says karma, jnana, and yoga cannot actually awaken love of Godhead. One has to take to the Lord's devotional service. And the more one is inclined to devotional service, the more he loses interest in other so-called achievements. Dhruva Maharaj went to practice mystic yoga to see the Lord personally, face to face. But when he developed an interest in devotional service, he saw that he was not being benefited by karma, jnana, and yoga. So this summarizes what we've been trying to say, that there's only one way to really see that non-dual, supreme, absolute personality of Godhead. We can attempt it through other ways, but it won't give us the satisfaction of actually reaching the goal. And in anything, even in material world, if you have some goal and you don't reach it, do you feel satisfied? I have it all planned out where I'm going to save up X amount of dollars, and in the next 9 to 10 months, I'll be able to get the car of my dreams. I have it all planned out. 10 months go by, 12 months, 2 more years, you still don't have the dream. You even practically forgot about it. It's not satisfying. In such circumstances, one usually develops some other goal. Well, I couldn't get that car, but let me work on this. We're all looking for some satisfaction, and it never seems to work out. So these are very deep fields to actually understand karma and how to do karmic activities. Karma is not just action and reaction. That's a basic definition, my karma. It is to some degree action and reaction, but the actions themselves are categorized. You can have actions in the mode of goodness, you can have actions in the mode of passion, and you can have actions in the mode of ignorance. So if you're thinking, if you take something in the mode of ignorance, I need $10,000 tomorrow, so I'll just go up here to Bank America and with my pistol and take it. That's action in the mode of ignorance. It's not going to give you the result you actually wanted. You wanted to use that money for something, but even if you manage to pull off the robbery, you're going to get caught. There's going to be consequences. And so it is with all these situations, that they're not ultimately they're going to prove not to be the satisfaction we're looking for. So to obtain that supreme absolute truth, the supreme absolute personality of Godhead himself. In English, Srila Prabhupada devised this terminology, the supreme personality of Godhead. What do we mean by that? We mean the supreme person. He has a personality. He has characteristics that he likes, activities that he does. So the supreme personality of Godhead is the ultimate goal. To reach that goal requires discipline, requires one to surrender. Surrender to whom? To John on the street, Joe on the street? No. You have to search out who is a bona fide guru. We've heard the term guru. Nowadays, it's popular to even say guru of this and that. So-and-so is a guru on Wall Street. He can earn you so much money. What's the use? You need to search out a real guru. What does guru mean? One definition given is heavy. The other is one who can point, one who can show the way. Show the way where? To the supreme absolute truth. That's the guru we have to search out. So, as we've seen reading through this text, we cannot do it on our own. And Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, as well as Srimad Bhagavatam, has told us we need to find a guru. The guru can take us there. Just like if we want to get to some place and we hire the proper guide, he'll get you right to the location. Otherwise, to attempt it on our own through arrogance, through ignorance, one can endeavor like that birth after birth and not reach the goal. So we have to stop at this point. Any question on this?
It says that Dhruva Maharaj went to practice mystic yoga, but when he developed an interest in devotional service, he saw that he wasn't being benefited by karma or jnana. So, at what point within the story did Dhruva Maharaj actually develop that interest? Because the king originally he wanted his father's kingdom. So, where did he develop that interest?
Well, when he was given the opportunity, he had done this very difficult austerity. He was, of course, in this day and age, you won't find any age able to do that. But he was a young boy, and he went out into the forest to try and find the Supreme, because he wanted, his goal at that time was to get a kingdom bigger than his grandfather's. He wanted it all, because he'd been so harshly insulted by his stepmother. So that's what he wanted to achieve. When he achieved that, in other words, he was going to be given that benediction, that's when he had the realization, that's useless. At that point, he had the realization when he was going to be given that benediction by the Supreme Lord. Of course, he had to take a benediction anyway, because confirmation. Confirmation. He had to take a benediction anyway, but that's when he realized that just to have some big kingdom, even if it was a whole planet, that's insignificant compared to what I've just seen. Just to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's when Dhruva came to that realization. There's some other examples in the Bhagavatam where devotees realize that what they're after is, if it was something in this world, is very limited.
He also had his guru's mercy, Narada Muni.
Dhruva
Dhruva Maharaj, he also had his guru's mercy from Narada Muni.
Narada Muni is such a prominent figure in the Bhagavatam. He has instructed many of the different beings that we come in contact with in the Bhagavatam because of his special connection with Krishna. Any other questions? Yes.
For people who have never heard Hare Krishna or have heard little but not a whole lot, what would you recommend them as the first step to get better understanding and understand how the stories can be relevant to what they're moving through in life?
Nice question. Well, the recommended way is associating with devotees and studying the Bhagavad Gita. The first book recommended is the Srila Prabhupada's translation. I should be emphatic on that because there are over 400 or 500 translations of Bhagavad Gita from Sanskrit to English and other. Bhagavad Gita as it is was translated by Srila Prabhupada himself. And in it, he shows very clearly what Krishna desires from us, the living entities, and how we can obtain that goal. So for a new person coming to the temple, getting to know some devotees, and reading Bhagavad Gita, and of course asking questions on any point you don't clearly see. That's a good question. Does that help you? Of course, these 18 volumes are one of my favorite. It's called the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's not a book you can read overnight. There are 18 volumes, 18,000 verses in that book, and Srila Prabhupada practically gives a purport or an explanation after most every verse so that we clearly understand it. So you can very systematically take volume 1 and start reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Very unique book. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.